Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good wherever you're at. Turn this other one off here. Hope you all are having a good day. It's a Monday, an unusual day for me to stream, but I had an opportunity, so I thought I'd grab it and get on and do a little bit of, whatever, home assistant stuff. I see Nicholas is first. Hi, Nicholas. Where are you from, Nicholas? I see him in the chat. And so today we're going to talk about a few dozen things. I guess I should bring up the screen, shouldn't I here? How about that? Current version. So today we're going to talk about Home Assistant 2021.3. If you missed the live stream that they do like a kind of a release party and that kind of thing. So they talk about it in a lot more detail than I'm going to. I just thought I would talk through a few things, do a few little highlights here and there, talk about some just random questions that y'all have. Whatever we decide we want to talk about today. Hello from Norway. Playing with HA. Yep. Man, as much as I mess around with this stuff all the time, it really is fun. I guess because we're doing it mostly for fun, and it's the hopefully the stress or the I guess it's the stress of trying to get something done commercially or whatever is not that big a deal. So it's kind of fun to play with. Good night from the Netherlands. Yep, and I realize that my streams are normally during the daytime, earlier in the day for me, but it's a work day for me, so I had to do the work stuff first. And kind of got the house to myself this evening, so the family's out. I thought I would do a little stream. So it's later than normal. The blue is getting delivered today or tomorrow. Congratulations, Jeff. I've been running mine for about a week and a half or 2 weeks now. Whenever I talked about the last live stream, I guess it's been right about 2 weeks. And all this stuff is running on it. I don't notice any difference at all between the responsiveness of my blue versus the responsiveness of my my Lenovo mini desktop. So I'm very pleased about that. And we can always look at the resources and all that. Hello from Sweden. Hello, Sweden. If I'm not going to choke up on my choke myself today here. And Duke, hi Duke. What's up to you? And what else we got going on here? I'm trying to get my thought process. I got a shift from work thinking to play thinking. And so, this is my first stream after working all day. So we'll see how much brain power I have left to concentrate on what I'm doing here. All right. What are we going to do here? So again, yeah, this is my blue, running on my blue, and it's pretty responsive. My light's on in the study, so boom, one click and it's off. My home feed card updates. This is a new addition for those that have seen my dashboard before. I have a free PBX system in the house, and I now have my extensions showing me when they're in use. So if I pick up my phone, my office phone here, for example, and I dial something, I'll dial the other extension in the house. You'll see that my extensions light up here, which is kind of cool. Don't ask me why I did this. Yep, see, so 4001 is calling 4000, so 4000's ringing. So, but it's just fun to play with. And, oops. So I actually have two extensions now on my phone in the office, and so I'm make sure that's all working. So it's just fun to play with, right? And now I can, if I'm curious if something's on the phone, I can take a quick look and see if the extensions are in use or not. So Duke says, got ZWave JS working, not trivial, but definitely worth the pain. Big speed upgrade. I've heard a lot about the big speed upgrade, and I'm not sure that I've experienced that yet. Maybe. In fact, I've had some issues with stuff not responding, and I think I know why. It's not that they don't respond. It takes a while. And there's a couple things. Either it's my my smart speaker not being very responsive, or it's the smart speakers competing with each other when both of them hear the same command, or I think the other thing is because I'm doing polling, and I'll tell you why I'm doing polling. Yeah, Jeff, it does. Falls because I can bucket. I saw somebody say something about this. I saw a webhook into my PBX system, and voila, here we go. It took me about, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes to build this for the free PBX stuff. So that was kind of fun. Hello from Phoenix, Arizona. What's the temperature in Phoenix, Arizona? It's currently a nice 68 degrees outside here. And I know I'm going back and forth here, but I'm kind of going through the chats, right? So Duke says battery-powered sensors wake up much faster. They just did an update either today or yesterday. I updated today, and it talks about some of those statuses being updated, waking up quicker. Let me see if I can find the link to that real quick. One of the things I've been watching quite frequently is the changelog on the actual ZWave JS stuff, and that gives you a lot of information about what they do. So in this case, sleeping nodes have their status correctly determined even if they weren't interviewed completely before. Sleeping nodes are no longer marked as asleep after the protocol info was queried. I thought I read something about battery stuff somewhere in here. I don't want to go through all of this, but if you're running ZWave JS, this is a good bookmark to have, because you wanna keep up with this. They're iterating on this so fast that it's just almost impossible without reading through this to understand what's going on. And for me personally, there's a couple things that I personally care about, and really one at this point, it's the Z or Quickset 910 locks. I still have to. They work fine, but they don't update. So on my locks here, these are Quickset 910 locks, and they don't update unless I force update them. I do a polling. So I'm doing polling right now, and I'm doing the polling on a regular basis, and that is not. It's not really that good for your network. So on the ZWave JS stuff here, I'm using the ZWave JS to MQTT without the MQTT part. I'm using it for a control panel, because right now in the ZWave JS add-on, there's no real way to, well, you can. They're starting to add functionality, but there's no graphical interface or no user interface. It's all service calls. So you can update configurations on devices now through ZWave JS. Only you have to do it as a service call. So when I look at this and I look at my locks here, these have a feature called poll or bolt status. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm looking for, maybe it's here. Yeah, the current status of the bolt. If I turn that manually, it does not update the status of the bolt. So if I unlock the door with my fingers, it doesn't tell me that the door is unlocked. And so what I've had to do, unfortunately, which is not good for the network overall, is to go into the general settings here and add a poll that I pull every 5 minutes, because it's killing my batteries, by the way. It's eating those door lock batteries like nobody's business. So I'm running, instead of every 10 seconds, which is the minimum, I'm now doing this every 5 seconds or every 5 minutes, just to see that if I take a quick glance at the status of the house from my dashboard, I'll see that the lock is unlocked. It just won't be immediately noted. Now, that doesn't mean that things like keypad unlocks don't function. That does work, and I'll show you some stuff I do with that here in a minute. But I've had to pull this, and it just eats the batteries. It slows down the network, which is probably why I'm seeing some of the slowness that I see, because they frown upon polling. So what I'm waiting for the day up here on this changelog where they see that they've done something with the Quickset 910 locks. They've done work with other models of that lock to address some issues. There's a bunch of issues reported on these locks. And I think it's because they're not ZWave Plus. I think that's what I read. And I don't know that I could put a ZWave Plus module in the door lock itself. If I can replace the door lock component and put a ZWave Plus, I would just swap it out. But I haven't really played with that. And I would just get new door lock, except these things are, and I've said this before, these door locks are like massively expensive compared to everything else. Couple $300 for a door lock. I don't want to replace them if I don't have to. So I'll just live with pulling for now, maybe occasionally swap the batteries out when I wear them out, and then wait for a fix to hopefully show up here. So yeah, it's just one of those things. And even it worked under OZW, Open ZWave Beta, just fine. It would update. But I want to stick with this because you can see, you know, how they're making changes 3.7, 3.2, 226, 223, 216. I mean, they're just really getting after the Z-Wave stuff here. I'm really pleased with the progress. And you know what might occur with this? Z-Wave itself has been kind of stagnant, I think, in a lot of places for a while. So I think this might spur some innovation amongst people outside the home assistant community, seeing that there's such a robust development or support model going on here, that it might help some of the Z-Wave stuff. It might help some of that chips or whatever that new stuff is they're trying to do. Talk about maybe putting some Z-Wave in there. I don't think chips include Z-Wave at this point, so we'll just see. All right, so that's my Z-Wave spiel. We'll talk more about Z-Wave later on, but that's my initial start of today's live stream. What do we say in the comments here? You're the one who, so you posted the Quickset. So Duke, what kind of Quickset blocks do you have? Do you have the 910s or do you have something else? And you say my convert, let me do this. My convert lock doesn't show alarm level, alarm type. And Miguel's asked, am I from Phoenix? No, I'm in Texas. So just a little bit farther east of you. Hello from Denmark. Oh, so we have the Scandinavian countries all covered. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What I wanted, let's see, I was going to look at something here. Your convert lock doesn't show alarm level and alarm type, and you have the 914. So I saw that they had done some work with the 914, although I don't remember specifically what it was. Let me show you something here with the with the alarm level and alarm type. Maybe this is what your issue is with that. If you go to the integrations and you look at the Z-Wave stuff and you find your lock, and I'll just find one of mine. Where are my locks? Here's one. So here's the front door lock. See, now this battery is at 70%. This one's at 40. This battery, I replaced this battery like 2 weeks ago, I think. And because I'm pulling it, I was pulling it every 10 seconds to get a status. It ate the batteries, and it takes 4 AA batteries. So that's not good. All right. So anyway, if we look at one of these locks, we'll just look at this one down here. You have disabled entities. And I now see that I only have one of these two. I have alarm level. I had alarm type. Is it already in here? Well, that's interesting. Now this lock, for some reason, I had to re-interview it just a little bit ago. It didn't come up with a manufacturer or anything else. Let me look at the front door lock and see if that has it. Yep. Oh, here we go. So we have alarm type and alarm level. And I use these myself in my Node-RED stuff. So let me show you that. This all goes towards our Z-Wave discussion for those that have tuned in for Z-Wave. We can categorize this as Z-Wave. Alarm or door actions. So I have a pile of door stuff here. Okay, I want to hide this. Hide the sidebar. Boom, boop, boo. And my front door unlock code, if I get an alarm status, I think it's alarm status. What am I pulling on here? Alarm type. If I get an alarm type of 19, then I turn all the lights on in the house. What that 19 means is that I've that somebody has entered the code in the door. And if I get the 19, then I want it to turn all the lights on in the house. And also, I get a notification from pushover that that front door code was entered. And I can also, I think, yeah, lock secured using cylinder or inside thumb turn. So let me ask you a question, Duke, on that. Because, you know, it's a two-way learning streak, right? I know that I turn that lock, and that's the case like probably 90% of the time. We'll unlock that door from the inside and go out, and then we'll come back in and lock it from the inside. So it's going to be a bolt turn, thumb turn, like you said. I'm polling it now to get that status, and I haven't found a way in Node-RED to tell. So I tried this stuff here. I tried to do front door lock status, and I suppose I could change this from a polling thing to this number 1 and 21, and then change the status of what displays on my dashboard. That's a really long way to go around the polling, but maybe that saves the battery or something. And then it would update this entity to tell me whether or not. But then how do you update the entity to tell you the status? That's something I haven't played with, something maybe I should try to do at some point. See, now that's interesting. Oh, I think I just clicked on this. It does work if you click on it. It'll update, but not if it's turned in the bolt status by hand. Let me lock the door again. So 1 and 21, but so in your case, Duke, if you look at those entities that I just showed you in the dashboard, and I went away too fast. Do you find those if you look for your hidden entities? Let me find it again here. Front door. All right, where to go? Front door. If you, I did it. I don't know what I'm doing. Let me use my brains here. Let's go back to integrations. And let's go back to the device and front door lock. So do you see a section down here? Do you see down here where they're hidden potentially? And your 9.14 updates automatically without polling. Yeah, I think they fixed the 9.14, and I think the 9.10. There's a difference between the 9.14 and 9.10 in terms of the ZWave protocol. I don't know what it is. I didn't pay attention that closely, but I do know there's a difference, and that difference is why it's not working in my 9.10. They show unavailable. So you have to, and I'll show you this on the other lock. And maybe this you've already tried this, but I'm going to show you anyway here. Backdoor lock. If you click on disabled entity, click on it, and you enable the entity, update it, it will add it within 30 seconds. And now I look at it, and I can't tell what the status is. Here we go. Click this. No? Because it's not there yet, I guess. Yeah, so click the thing once you enable it. Oh, it doesn't have a deal here. I guess the seeing eye has to turn blue. One thing I do know about ZWave stuff is if it's not blue, oh, it just, wow. It just ate my network for a second. So when it adds it to, anytime you do something like this on your network, it's going to restart your ZWave stuff. Now it's there. It says unknown for me. And the code. So, well, that's a smart code. So I have the alarm level. I don't have alarm type. This may require another polling of this particular lock, or there's an issue with the lock itself. But it does say currently that it's unknown, and I wonder if I were to go turn that knob, if it would actually update that. Anyway, the question I'm having for you, Duke, is you said it shows the 9.14, shows on the 9.14, and convert unhidden. On the convert, they show unavailable. What's convert? I don't know what that means. Oh, I guess you're talking about this. Yeah, if they don't show up, then that's going to be another issue with that particular part of the ZWave stuff. You know, as much as ZWave is nice in terms of, for me, it's been pretty robust. There's still a lot of things, a lot of like command classes and things that you have to take into consideration. And if you look at the changelog, you're going to see you're just going to see continuous updates for there's a bunch of config files from the ZWA import. There's just all kinds of updates for like supervision support for these, whatever these devices are. Values for the root endpoint are no longer hidden. Cleanup ring contact sensor. Just all these things have their own files or their own command class stuff that they have to deal with. So anyway, there's just a ton of stuff. And I'm curious here if I look for 9.14. Yep. This isn't fixing your thing, but it looks like fixed an incorrect device ID assignment of Quickset 9.14. That's your lock, Duke. Anymore. There's only one instance of 9.1 anything there. That was back on February 23rd in version 6.5.0. If you're curious, if you're running the ZWave JS to MQTT add-on, you can look and see what version of the server you have running, or the ZWave JS version. So I'm on 6.6.1. The server version is 1.1.1. The app version is 2.1.2. This is kind of the important one. So when you're looking at this changelog, right now we're on version 6.6.1. That is the latest version of the ZWave. So these things have to be updated by multiple people. You update, someone makes an update to this ZWave JS stuff, then it gets filtered down into the Home Assistant community. They do the updates there, and they push those to Home Assistant, which then updates the stuff in Home Assistant. So you just, even though it's updated here, you might have an app or this add-on may not get updated for a couple of days after the main server stuff is updated. Then you might have the ZWave JS add-on that's Home Assistant core that might get updated before this, and it just gets a little confusing. But if you're curious what version you're running and you're running this MQTT add-on, this is where you look. And then you compare it to the latest version here, which is what we're currently running. So I'm on the latest version of ZWave stuff that's currently available. 212. That's a lot of numbers, Duke. That makes my head hurt. So let me read here. See, there's a table of values. I believe I posted on the other video. Yep. Okay. Quickset convert lock. No keypad. Oh, I see. So it's the name of the lock, I think. Hello, Nick. How are you today? We're discussing ZWave for those that are joining us right now, and then I'll get into a little bit of the what's new in Home Assistant 2023.1, which or 2021.3. And there's a lot of stuff here. This was a busy update, and I'm just going to kind of read through a few things. Always, these updates are available for you to go through, and the Home Assistant team has now been doing a release party, or I guess they call it a release live stream, where they talk about a lot of these things. There's 13 brand new integrations, so if you have any of these devices, you can integrate those. So there are some new UI features for service calls if you play around with the service calls. And what was the other thing he said? Oh, My Home Assistant. Yeah. So it's kind of a rebranding thing that they're doing with My Home. They're calling it My Home Assistant. And there's a graphic here somewhere. This thing here. So one of the things that they do with My Home Assistant, and let me see if I can find a page, an integrations page down here. They now, and you can see the little animated GIF here. Instead of going and having to find a page about something and updating it, or downloading the integration and finding it in Home Assistant, now you can go directly from the page and install it. I want to try to find, I'll just pick one of these things. Let's try Hue. So Hue is an integration available in Home Assistant. And if you read about it and you say, okay, this is a thing that I want to be able to install and use in my Home Assistant setup, instead of coming over here, going to configuration, integrations, and then clicking this add integrations button and searching for Hue and clicking the button and then blah, all that stuff. Now all you have to do is you just go to this Hue page, you click on add integration. It takes you to your local Home Assistant instance, and I don't think this will work for me. Yep. So what you have to do is specify your local thing. So I already broke it, but the point is you can do that. Let me start over again. Put this in the right way. I'm going to put in my local IP address, which is where my Home Assistant sits. Update this. And now it's saying, do I want to open this page in my Home Assistant here, this thing? You betcha. Now it opens it up. Says 404 not found. It worked on everybody else's things I saw and on it. It does work. So let me try to do this again. Let me take the HTTP, the S off of here. Try it one more time. Page isn't working. All right, well, is my face turning red on this? Welcome to live TV. I say that every live stream. What am I doing? One. That's correct. That's where my stuff is sitting. So I'm not sure what's happening here, but this does actually work. I've seen it work, and it works great. And it should just open up my redirect config flow start domain Hue. Okay, so I broke it. Let me see if I can find a different integration, just see if it's an integration thing or I just don't know what I'm doing. So I'll go back over to an integration page on the Home Assistant new stuff, and let's just pick this one. Well, let's do this one because I don't have that. And I'll try to add the integration again here. See, now once you set your URL, it works. It'll remember that in this browser. If you go to a different browser or an incognito window or something like that, you probably have to put this in again. And if I click on open link, yeah. So whatever it's doing wrong here, it's something to do with my setup. I'm running Nginx proxy, I'm running DuckDNS, and I bet you anything, if I were to look at my setting here, let me do that in a different window. For safety reasons, see if I may have to use my external URL for that. It does work. Play around with it. It is nice, a nice feature to be able to add integration directly from the page. And if anyone wants to play with this now, that's awesome. You can tell me that it works for you. I know it does. I've seen it work. It's not a lie. It does do what it's supposed to. I just, for some reason, am not getting it to work for me on the live stream. So we'll just move on from that, shall we? So what else do we do here? So that was a big one. That was the My Home Assistant. And then we have all these things that are going on. I'm just reading some chats here. Let me go here. Looked different when I typed it. I guess you're talking about that, Duke. Upgraded. What did you upgrade, Nick, yesterday? The Home Assistant version? Probably. Not using default config. Oh, yeah. Yeah, probably so. Config Hamlet. That's funny. What you meant was config YAML. So that is what I'm not doing here. And that was a point that was made. When I installed Home Assistant, and you know what? I should try this again. I'm going to try this again. Watch this little trick. I'm going to put in a different address, which is my development version of this thing, my test instance. It has a default configuration set by default because I didn't change it. Later versions of Home Assistant have default config, specified in the configuration.yaml. Earlier versions did not. I'm on an earlier version, even though I'm on the blue and I just migrated. All my configuration's still from the early days, and it doesn't have this. So I'm going to cross my fingers. We're going to see if this works from this particular instance. This is my test one. There you go. So good call, Arjan, because you need to have that default config in there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'm not going to set this up right now. If you go to, I'll just use file editor, and you go to configuration.yaml, this line right here, blow it up, make it bigger. Whoa, too big. This default config line right here it does a bunch of things that pre-set up stuff within your Home Assistant instance, and it allows things like what we're talking about, My Home Assistant, to function because you have a default configuration setting for a lot of your stuff. In the case of my production stuff, I never had this line because this was put together after the first version I ever installed. I could put this line into my Home Assistant, I think. I don't know if it would break anything. But with this, if this is enabled, then these things that I'm talking about here where you click this will actually work. So yes, there you go. It does work. Arjan, that was awesome. Thanks for saving my bacon on that one. So again, add an integration. You can search for any of the integrations here. All of these are integrations available within Home Assistant. I don't know what the total is these days. A lot. See all these numbers here? 103 hubs. Whew. Hub integrations. I mean, I don't even know what this is. Yeah, look at all that. 103 different hubs that you can interface to Home Assistant. Finance, that's interesting. Yeah, if you have Bitcoin, congratulations, you're rich. If you have Bitcoin, then you can interface that with Home Assistant. What else do we have here? Calendars, automations, alarms. There's a lot of alarm stuff you can set up here as well. I guess Hub includes a lot of these other smaller categories as well. I don't know what the definition of a hub is. Anyway, you could click on any of these, like Alarm Control Panel. If it has the My Home Assistant function available to it, you can click on the Add Integration and go straight to it. There we go. I think we've beat that one to death. Howdy all. Howdy, Bob. Where are you calling from, or where are you joining from today, Bob? Okay, where was I at? So we talked about that. My Home Assistant. This, if you play with service calls at all, and I'm going to go to my test thing again, since I forget I have that sometimes. And if you go to Developer Tools and then Services, there's a whole new setup here for services. If you're used to the old version, you would have to call a service up. You would have a little window up here, and I don't have an older version to show you, but you have a window up here, and you would select it. What they're trying to do is standardize on the way things work, the way things look within Home Assistant for certain things, and the services look a lot like blueprints do. So if I were to click a service here, let's do a service turn on, or Home Assistant turn on. Let's just see what turn on gives me. All right, so we do, I don't want scripts. Automation. Well, that's it. So now they're calling it core integration generic. So I'll just do turn on. So I can pick an entity. And these are all the things I can choose. Now, this is what I was talking about here. You can pick an area, pick a device, or you can pick an entity. These little buttons here are what you see in the blueprint settings and the automation settings now. And they're trying to standardize that. So they're really excited about the whole services thing where you can do this. Let's do my favorite. Well, that's not going to work, is it? Light. So it doesn't like that. So let me see if a device works. So so what it's telling me here is that what I'm trying to do is the wrong There should be a switch turn on, right? It's for a service call. What I'm looking to do is turn on a light. And it used to be called switch turn on. I thought it did. But anyway, these are all the services you can call. What I'm learning today is I should never do a live stream after working all day because things are not going well. I thought I could just turn on a switch doing this, using the Home Assistant turn on, turn off. Media players, remote, scenes, scripts. All right, well, anyway, services. Let me see if there's another one I can do on here just to show it off. So you can restart add-ons. That's interesting. I didn't know you could do that through a service call. I guess most of the stuff is service calls that they call internally themselves. What would you turn on a Boolean? So I'm wasting time here. I know. Input text set. Let's just set a value. I'm going to pick an entity. No matching entities. Pick a device. No matching devices. Pick an area. All right. Well, the idea here. Yeah. So, light turn on. Let me. See, and I'm not seeing anything for turn on here. These are all the options I have for the word turn on. Let's see if I just have something for light. Oops. See, and I don't get anything back for this either. I don't get anything for switch either. Oh, okay. See, this is what's going on. Let me get another drink of something that might wake me up. Remember that I'm on my developer instance. I don't have any lights and switches. Let me go back over to my other one. So now let's go back to developer tools on my production. Go to services, look for a light, turn on. Wow. Just wow. So we can pick an entity here, and now I have all my lights. So my favorite, as you all know, is the playroom light. So I can do this. I can also do multiple lights. So I can also do, let's say, kitchen counter lights. You can do a transition to the next state. You can do, if you have the RGBs, you can do the RGBs. You can do the hue stats, the XY colors, color temperatures. You can do them in MyReds. You can do them in Kelvin, the white level, bright. I mean, look at this. It's just a strobe. What is a flash effect going to do? Am I going to strobe? No. So anyway, this is the new hotness for service calls. If you want to see what this looks like in YAML mode, this is what you would used to do. You would call a service light turn on, send your data, and then your target entity ID and all that stuff. Now with the UI mode, you just select the buttons and you push it. So now if I call the service, of course, it never works for me. I'm going to use just one light today. How about that? Call the service, and then it turns on the light. So, and then you can do the same thing with light turn off. So I'm going to play with that input text thing again, just see what options I have. So as another example, input text set a value. So let me pick an entity. So I want to set the vacation status, and I want to set the value to vacay. So if I go on vacation, my automations do things differently than if my input text value is set to normal. So I call the service, and now hopefully my vacation status in my input text value is set to that. So the service stuff is pretty cool to play with. If you're into testing, and this is one way you can test things. You can call these services outside of building dashboards or anything else and just play around and see if the stuff works. without having to build out the whole system just to do a quick test. So this is a good use for the tests, for the services, and then you just pretty much can do whatever you need to do in here. All the service calls that are available to you in Home Assistant, based on your instance, obviously, and what you have installed, should be available here. And let's do add guard, add URL. And this is where you put in some data here. This is where you may have to do a little bit of, YAML-ish or something like that. But yeah, see, parameters only available in YAML mode. So some services you will still have to go in and do some stuff to it. So I'd go in YAML mode, and then I would put in the URL, that kind of thing. So there you go on that. Let's see, turn on. So yep, we got the light turn on now that I'm on the right deal. For color name, they have added Home Assistant as a color. Oh yeah, so that's one thing I didn't quite understand what that was. Is Home Assistant its own color, like blue? Flash effect is great for alerts. Have you used Flash effect, Bob? And also you asked me up here, have you pointed your dev instance to the WS server? No. Let's just try that real quick. Let's break all this stuff. So what Bob is asking me here, he says, have you pointed your dev instance to the WS server for ZWave JS to MQT from your production node? No. So this is a cool thing about running ZWave JS to MQTT, is that you can, let me go back to my developer version, or my other one. If I go to integrations, I believe, and I add ZWave JS, so I actually am running, so Bob, I'm afraid to do this actually, because I'm running a ZWave USB hub on the development device, although there's nothing on it right now. No, there is. This is on it. Where's it at? Phew. Wow. At what point do you just give up? There is a device on it. Let me just go back to integrations and I'll see. 2 devices. So I have this is actually now plugged into my internet router. If I turn this off, it's bye-bye live stream. It says it's off, but it's really not. Oh, hey, check it out. It's all unavailable now. So it's not working. Okay. All right. So I'm going to delete the integration. And what we're going to do is if you're running Home Assistant and you have more than one Home Assistant instance and you're running ZWave like I am, you can you can add the integration and point it to your ZWave JS to MQTT server. I don't want to use the supervisor add-on, so it's going to ask me for the WS host, which is going to be, and I don't know if this is exposed outside of the Home Assistant instance or not. If I submit that, that's my production IP address. It should see all my devices. This is what Bob's telling me through mental telepathy. All right. Okay. Oh, hey. So now what this does mean, I think, is that all of these devices that are in my production are now available in my other system, my backup system. So if I click on this, and it's off now according to my production system, if I turn it on, it is now turned on my production system. So looking over here, this is a study light on my production system. This is the developer version, or my Raspberry Pi 4. I am now talking to my ZWave JS to MQTT add-on on the production server and controlling the ZWave devices. So if I turn this off, you'll now see that my light has gone off here as well. So now what that does get me the ability to do is to test things on my backup system without destroying the configuration on my primary. And all I'm using the ZWave stuff, what I'm doing is using the ZWave communications path between my developer instance and my production. and being able to do things. So now I probably could call that service call that I was trying to mess with over here. Where's it at? Go to here and then go to services. I don't know. We're going to see. Maybe it's not ready for that yet. Switch, turn on. Yep. So here it is. So I could switch, turn on. It's not giving me the options for whatever reason. Anyway, we proved it worked, but it's not giving me the rest of the options for some reason. I'm not sure why. Maybe because it doesn't know those are switches. They're not lights, are they? Yeah. I don't know what's happening here. But the point is you can do that with the ZWave to JS MQTT stuff. So that's pretty awesome. So now I have all my ZWave entities on both the developer device and the other one. Hey, Bob, do you know then if I add a ZWave device here on my developer's instance, does it show up automatically on the other one? Or do they cross talk to each other? Because then I could use the ZWave stick in one room, and let's say you have a really big setup, really big area to cover. You can have another USB hub with Raspberry Pi 4 or something in another area and use that kind of a second path for your ZWave stuff. And I also wonder what the mesh network looks like. ZWave JS.MQTT has a map. So if we look at the map, where's the map? Network graph. That's what I want. You can see here's the main controller, and test your plug for the stream, which no thank you. I had enough of that when we had power outages in Texas. I don't want to test that thing again. So if we look for, here's my mesh network. It's just really flat. I mean, there's another way. There's options. You can set this to something like this, and you get that what probably you're used to seeing as a mesh map, but it's incredibly hard to read. This tells me I really don't know what I'm looking at actually here versus the other option where you can see just where your controller is and how many hops. It's just interesting. I know where these things are in the house, how something like this talks to something way the heck over here, which is on an opposite side of the house. Yet some of these things can't talk directly to the controller, and they're actually closer than some of these other things are to the controller. I don't know. So you have your controller, and then you have one hop, and then you have two hops. Fortunately, I don't have any 3 hops, 4 hops, or failed nodes, although node 4 is failed, but it's not listing here. So I don't know where I was going with this, other than looking to see if it showed that other controller on there, which it doesn't seem to. And since this is the MQTT add-on, this isn't available in the other device. I don't have a network map because all I'm doing is the integration on the backup system or test system. Okay, so there's that. So new UI for service calls, play around with that. And here's the example, Home Assistant. Everyone was really excited about that. I call it blue, but I guess there's a Home Assistant blue. Yep, all that's the same stuff. If you're not using areas, and I'm not doing a good job of that, they're becoming more useful. I need to play with those more, and I think that sounds like a good option for one of my videos, is to talk about areas and what they really can do for us. One of the things they do now, yeah. If an integration knows about an area or a room or a location it's in, it can suggest an area if the device doesn't have one yet. So for example, the Hue integration can now suggest an area based on the Hue group it is in. So these particular things will suggest an area right now. All these different integrations. I don't remember if my Roku actually suggested any areas. I don't know how it knows. If you have fans, I have lots of them, but none of them are automated. That is the one thing. If I had a wish list of items to add to my home automation, it would be to control all of my ceiling fans. Because if you ever read anything about what a ceiling fan does, it cools the person in the room. It doesn't cool the room. And so when you're running the ceiling fan and nobody's around, you're just creating heat from the motor, especially in an area where it's hot all the time, like Texas. You're creating heat from the motor. You're wasting electricity, and it does nothing except whatever. So one of the things that I have to do before I leave for like a trip or something like that is to go through the house and turn off all of the ceiling fans. And nothing more tedious. Well, okay, I'm being really nitpicky. There's nothing more solvable with something like I'm doing with my automation than turning off the ceiling fans. Problem is, I don't have any ceiling fan dimmer switches or controls. They're all manual. And when we talk about wife acceptance factor and being able to get away with stuff without too much, heartache or pain or whatever, I don't want to go through and start messing and replacing all those yet. I would love to, because I think fans are a waste when no one's around. But anyway, it has nothing to do with this other than now the fans work with percentages instead of low, medium, high, or off. So you can now use the fan control with more brands than you used to be able to, like HomeKit, for example. I know a lot of y'all are probably using HomeKit. And there's backward compatibility, so you can still use it. So you can set a percentage for your fan settings. Did you notice in the above screenshot, the automation editor is now wider? The layout has been adjusted to give you more screen real estate when creating auto. So, so you call service fan set speed percentage, and then the percentage is 37%. Let's see, we have some comments about this. Oh, so you had areas import from the bond. Interesting. Bond must be a controller, right? Device, I guess. Yes, please hit that like button. Thanks, Nicholas. Yeah, the likes are the algorithm likes them. Bond for RF ceiling fans. I've been using Bond with my fans for 2 years. Local API. What is Bond? Let's take a quick look at that. Bond. And of course, you can always add the Bond integration directly from this page if you have the default config set in your configuration.yaml. Ceiling fan shades fireplaces. I want to see what the Bond device does. Bond. Fan Bond. After about 1/3 of these little monster drinks, not sponsored, these things, I drink coffee, and coffee has no effect on me. These things, for whatever reason, seem to. Bond definition, that's not what I'm talking about. Bond fan controller. Oops, I didn't want that. I didn't want a review. Bond fan control. Home Bond home.io. Okay, so what is Bond? Bond is a Bond bridge. Oh, you know what? I think my brother was talking about this. One of my brothers was talking about getting one of these things. He may have one, actually. Or he had one and it didn't do something, but maybe an older version. He might have this. I don't even know. It's beautiful and slim. All right, so that's kind of cool. So what's the thing that it controls? Like my fans are wired. Do you put something on the fan itself and bypass the switch? Which, by the way, just reminded me, maybe I could do some ESP stuff with those fans. How do you, what's the companion to the fan, the actual part that goes on the fan? Or is this it? I don't think this is it. This is a hub. Bond bridge, support community, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, someone will tell me here in a minute. I'm curious because I'd like to know what what it actually, how you interface it to the fan itself, and then see how that goes. Cool. There's just so much to play with, so little time. I would, if I just had stuff sitting here and I could spend all day, let's see what this does, and let's see what that does. I would be living it up. Okay, let's RF. Like how? Oh, I know what you're talking about. This is my fan control. It's in a plastic bag because I never used it. And this, I'm guessing, is what you're talking about. This is what's supposed to be on the fan. But since we have the in the wall switches for the fan, the dimmer, the 1, 2, 3, 4 switches, we don't use this. But this may or may not be something that I could use with Bond. Fan RF Bond API Home Assistant. Yeah, so this is, it doesn't give me like, I don't even know what brand this is. The UC7067RC. That's probably, it's definitely RF because it has a remote control thing with it. Oh, this is Harbor Breeze. This particular fan control is a Harbor Breeze. So maybe this is the answer, that I actually wire this thing in, leave the switch on all the way, and then do some Bond with it and see if it'll control it. Does the Bond probably tells you what it works with, right? So let's just look this up. UC7067RC. And that's Universal Ceiling Fan Remote Control Receiver Complete Kit. So Universal. Hampton Bay specs. So Bob says that is exactly what I need. What I was looking for is like frequency or whatever, but yeah, this is it right here. Fanimation. Sweet. So I have a bunch of these things sitting around because I don't use these, but I could, right? That would be fantastic, I think. Let's get off that screen before I kill something. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I might have another project. Because having this up at the fan level is unobtrusive to the decor of the house. And then I guess I could, from an RF perspective, leave it at full tilt. 433. Okay, cool. I could leave it at full speed on the control, and all I would do essentially is turn the fans off, kill the power to the thing, or set it to 0 or whatever it's going to be when I set the alarm and no one's home. And then I have a routine that runs. This is back in the day, pre-2020, when we were actually not here most of the time during the working day. I would have a routine that would set those things. The air conditioner would come on at 2:30, so the house would be cool when people got home in the afternoon. It wouldn't come on. It would be set to the normal temperature versus the eco mode. And at that same time, I guess I could set the fans on. Or door locks, right? When the door lock code is entered, then the ceiling fans come on because then people are actually in the house. Or I could do an automation where I have motion detectors in most of the rooms that have the fans. Have the motion detector kick the fan on when it sees motion for an hour or 2 hours or whatever, and then turn it off if there was no motion for 2 hours. So many things. Hotels do that now. Have you ever noticed hotel rooms are pretty automated? That things don't come on like the air conditioner unless they sense motion in the hotel room. I think that's pretty awesome, actually, because that's a lot of waste in the hotel room for unoccupied hotel rooms. Okay, man, excuse me. So now we're also going to talk about the ZWave JS update. So let's just talk about a few of the updates. Now there's a difference here. And let me show you. I talked about this in the video as well. So there is the ZWave to ZWave JS to MQTT add-on. That includes the ZWave JS server and everything you need to run ZWave JS. The integration is how you get from that to Home Assistant. And you do that through WS, the webhooks. And that's what I demonstrated when I connected my development Pi to this. It's really just talking to it over the webhooks. The other one is the ZWave JS official add-on. Is this one right here. And this one talks directly to Home Assistant inside the core setup or whatever. I'm sure I said that wrong. But anyway, it's native to Home Assistant-ish now. So when they talk about that one, that's what they're talking about here, I believe, is the ZWave, the actual built-in ZWave JS stuff. If you're using ZWave JS to MQTT, it has the ability to do things, and you can see that from the actual UI. It has a UI. So, for example, on one of my multi-sensors, this was a mess to mess with. You have all these configuration options and everything you can do here. This is all stuff you can set from the UI in the ZWave JS to MQTT dash or control panel here. What they've added in this latest version of Home Assistant, which does require server version 1.1.0, and if you look at where I showed you before, you can see that I'm server version 1.1.1, so I'm 0.1 above what I need. This is for the add-on the other add-on I'm talking about. You can automate and change configuration settings on your devices with the service calls within Home Assistant. Now, I'm not the expert on everything. I played around with it, so I'm relying on y'all in the chat to tell me that I'm totally wrong if I'm totally wrong. So if I say something that doesn't make any sense, feel free to correct me. I will not be hurt. I will cry later in the corner, but not on the live stream. So you can automate the change configuration settings again with the service calls. One of the new things for me, yay, barriers, garage doors. I now have what is called a cover for my garage door, or I think that's true of anybody that that runs covers like the blinds and stuff like that. So if I look at my states, I can now find a thing called cover.garage door, and I can now reference this to open and close my garage door. So if I click on this, if I click on that button right there, the garage door will open. If it were closed, it is closed. If it were open, I would click on this one and close it. That's something that was not in Home Assistant. It got added to ZWave JS, a barrier class, a few updates ago, but was not in the Home Assistant itself, because that's the piece where Home Assistant has to take the information that's provided by the ZWave JS server and do something with it in Home Assistant, and that's where the integration part comes into play. So the integration got updated in 2021.3 to include the cover. So if you're running a garage door or something like that, now the barrier class is recognized within the Home Assistant integration, and now you can do stuff with it in Home Assistant. I've seen some folks on Discord somebody asked me on Discord about having a problem with that. And let me see if I can just quickly see if I can figure out what they said today. If you all know on my Discord, you can look that up on Discord as well. I think they had to do something with it. Let me see. It's now, I like that's running ZWave network. Oh yeah. So he said, I don't know how this happened. It wasn't paired securely, so that he wasn't able to control the garage door. What I don't understand is when you go from something else like Open ZWave Beta and Home Assistant, or just regular ZWave and Home Assistant to ZWave JS or something else, you need to move your security key over, and it has to be correct, or your You don't have to repair. Normally, you don't have to repair the encrypted devices or the secure devices you already have on your network if you bring the security key over and put it in correctly. I don't know that that doesn't happen. There aren't some glitches that cause problems every once in a while, and maybe that's what it was on that person that did that. So anyway, make sure you have your security key correctly done if you decide to migrate over to ZWave JS or something like that. So the garage door stuff is in there. It worked worked right off the bat for me, and I use that in my dashboard here. I can control the garage door right here just by pushing that button. That's referenced as the cover.garage door something. It's cover. Whatever you named it. So that's what you would use there. Some heating valves and similar devices that can be set to multiple different values will now show up as number entities. So if you have some sort of heating device that requires you to set it as a number instead of a on-off or whatever, it now shows up as a number entity. So those are some updates to ZWave. As I showed you before, bookmark this thing, this changelog. If you're using ZWave JS, it's just going so fast that when you see an update for an add-on in the Home Assistant stuff, you're not necessarily seeing, you're seeing what the add-on changes were. You're not seeing what was done in the back end. So let's say in the latest version of the add-on, and I know I'm bouncing around a lot here, but I just want to kind of bring all these points to light here. So this one, for example, if I look at, I don't know if I can, yeah, here it is, changelog. So this tells me for the ZWave JS MQTT that upgrades ZWave to version 2.1.1, and then it bumps action stale from this and upgrades ZWave to anyway, all this stuff. But that doesn't tell me what it did in the back end of the thing. So this actually tells you what happened to the ZWave core stuff itself. So if you're curious what's going on here, this is a better reference for that. Because the scope of the add-on updates are only for the add-on itself, not for the underlying stuff that feeds into the add-on or makes the add-on function. Or I'm not saying that right. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. The add-on is a piece of software by itself. It gets updated. Its changelog is not necessarily the underlying, integration or hub or thing or whatever that it does, that it supports. So you have to look at that as well. All right, so we had a question here from Craig, and Craig says, why are all the devices brought in from SmartThings unavailable? Are you talking about ZWave stuff or just, I don't have a SmartThings device, but I know there are a number of folks on here that do SmartThings. So if somebody knows the answer to that, I mean, I'm just guessing things here where it's potential configuration issue. If I go to the SmartThings integration for Home Assistant, Home Assistant, I know I didn't spell it wrong, but Google's smart, it knows. Yep, there we go. Oh, and let's just do this. Add the integration. And it'll add it to my development site. Yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm assuming you got past this part. I was just going to see if there's anything that just stood out. Maybe I'll read the directions. 2 more ZWave JS links to note. Yes, Bob, yes. Okay, they are available. It's just the manufacturers. Oh, okay. Says the manufacturer says unavailable. So there was a person on Discord that was talking to me the other day. They may be on this live stream, and I apologize. I don't get the name, remember the name exactly. I'm going to go back and look through my Discord. We'll just all share under general, and I'm going to look. And this is the general. Everyone can read this anyway. Somebody was asking me about SmartThings in general, and they had to go to SmartThing. Here it is. they had to actually go talk to the SmartThings folks and get a download. They had to download something into SmartThings because some of the entities were not being sent across from SmartThings to Home Assistant. And they actually had to go in there and they had to download something and add it. And I think it was that person specifically. I think. Well, anyway, there's some stuff that isn't there that has to be added later on. Okay, so Mr. Jazz, can you talk about that a little bit in chat here and just say what you had to do? Because I don't have one and it's hard for me to tell or to answer that question, but I knew you were having issues with that. So feel free to chat about that in the chat. And I'll just keep blabbing on here while you do that. All right, so that's SmartThings. Let me go back to this. What else we have here? So if you have variables in your automations, or if you wanted to use variables in your automations, in your templates, you can do that. So for example, you can do stuff based on a room switch. You can fill in these variables programmatically for blueprints, etc. And it would take and look at this from whatever you feed it and not have to reuse or build specific ones for every instance. It'll just take what you feed. So variable automation triggers for what that's worth. I don't know what this means because I'm not in the Nordics, but y'all on the call here that are in the Nordics, do you know translations in the supervisor panel? If you want supervisor in other languages, there's some of that. They need help. So if you want to try to translate into your native language, join the front end team on Localize and you can help out with that. You can also get add-ons, the translation files, and then there's more. And you can read all the rest of this stuff here if you want. I'll read a little bit of it. The front end now and back end now relies on WebSockets, which allows supervisor to notify the front end about changes. So they're now they're eating their dog food, I guess is the term, eating their own dog food. They're using WebSockets to do their communications. You can now use add-on. If you're an add-on author, you can use YAML instead of JSON for your add-ons. This is something I've noticed here, and it's actually kind of annoying. Anytime I do an update, it's now asking me to take a snapshot before I upgrade core or add-ons, which is fine. I think probably the annoyance factor is more important than not making a snapshot. I do nightly snapshots, so I don't need a reminder. I would prefer that it be a reminder, but with it defaulted to off, because the first time I tried this, when I did the upgrade to 2.21.3.1 or something, the whole thing froze and something broke. And so my backups take 30 minutes or so, and I'm not going to run a backup every time I do an upgrade, because if I look at my add-on panel or my add-ons, I might have 5 add-ons that need updated, and I need it to not default to. I don't have any add-ons to show here, but I don't want it to default to being on every time. So I wish that was a reminder, but defaulted to off. But it is there, and that's helpful, because then you remember, oh, I need to take a snapshot before I make a backup or before I do an upgrade. So it's important. I see the point of that, and I'm glad it's there versus not. I just wish it defaulted to off instead of on. So they have better hardware support to cover more devices. We have the Odroid, we have the Pi, we have a lot of virtual environments. We have, there's a whole bunch, right? And they're adding more hardware so that they can support more hardware options. This have I been pwned thing. This is a new thing. This is an article. If you want to read this whole thing, I don't want to do that. It talks about how they use k-anonymity to provide a check of whether any of your configuration add-ons that have passwords configured belong to I've been pwned database, meaning that password has been compromised somewhere. And when I upgraded, I got continuous notice is, especially in my home feed. So I have a home feed card. On my home feed card, every 30 minutes to an hour, I would see 2 pop-ups here that would say that I had 2 add-ons that had bad passwords involved in those, or had bad passwords in those. I went and corrected those finally. It was my SSH thing and my Samba share. Both of them showed that they had passwords that had been part of a configuration or a compromise at some point. So I think that's pretty awesome. If you want to read about it, there is a, it was on the, hang on, let me see who's at the front door. Oh, the neighbors. My kids aren't here to play, so the neighbors' kids are coming over to play, but no one's here. So anyway, K-anonymity, I can't spell, and I'm not going to get the right thing here. It's based on, it was an article, and here we go, something like this. There's a link. If you actually have a compromised password, it will give you the link to this, and you can read about how K-anonymity works. It's interesting. It has a big formula for you math geeks. This is fun if you can read that. But it talks about the whole thing. But the bottom line is it checks your passwords to see if they've been hacked somewhere, or they belong to a hacked or leaked database, and you can then change them so you're not compromising things. What else? Also it'll show you down here. My Alexa thing is telling me things. It'll also show you notifications if you have any password things down here. Now, if you don't have the home feed card, I think once you dismiss them here until you do a restart, it doesn't show you again. I think here it kept popping up all the time and got kind of annoying. Yeah, there's people on my porch. All right, there's that. Other noteworthy changing. Shelly now supports battery operated devices. Yay, if you have a Shelly device. You can now use the color Home Assistant as a color name, just because we can. Added support for alias to virtually any step in the automations or your scripts. So if you're debugging documents or sequences, that's that. And support for enabling, disabling integration configuration. So you can temporarily disable a whole integration. Let me go to my development one. So I don't know when I would use that necessarily. If you disable it, it goes away off your thing. So let's say I want to disable this one. This is fine. I'm going to disable rather than delete this integration. Do you want to disable it? Sure. Now it's gone. Now you notice up here you have one disabled, and if you want to show that again, you have to click on it, and then you can re-enable it here and bring it back. So I'm not sure what the benefit of that is necessarily. I guess you're disabling the integration so it doesn't run. That's probably the benefit. It hides it, which to me it was the only thing I saw, but I guess it disables something. So if you don't want something to run, or it's having issues or causing your system issues, you can disable it temporarily and kind of see if things settle down and then re-enable it later on without having to reconfigure the whole thing. All right, let's see what's going on in the chat here, because I see some chats going. Smart Things devices get added by drivers that are added via the Cloud SDK. All right, so you have to install the SD integration. When you add new devices HA will sync through the, SYNC through the integration and pick up new devices. Utilize everything. The issue I'm having is that Blueprint, I can't select the device because it's looking for a certain manufacturer. So I don't use Smart Things, and I know a lot of folks do, so I'm not trying to knock those folks that are doing it. I mean, it's a USB, or it's a ZWave hub essentially, and it probably does things that I don't know about that makes it still worthwhile. But if you have the option to go directly to your Home Assistant device with a ZWave dongle, the USB deal, I would do that. My understanding is a little snappier as well. there's been, reading the Discord comments, it seems like some folks are okay with the speed and other folks it's slow, and I guess it depends on your issue. You're adding a layer of complexity, or you're adding another point of failure to your system. So if you're going from Home Assistant to SmartThings, you've got that thing there that, and we're seeing this in the chat right now, that you have this behavior that you have to maybe work around it like an SDK, or you have to install something to make it work. Now, we're not above installing things. We play with stuff all the time in Home Assistant. It just seems like it's an extra layer of complexity that doesn't have to be there unless there's a specific reason you're running the SmartThings device. But I'll recommend that y'all too, if we end the live stream here in a little while and y'all are still wanting some more information, make sure you get on my Discord server and just y'all can have a chat in there amongst yourselves and just kind of talk through this and even provide support. The unfortunate thing is I can't provide much support on SmartThings because I don't have one. You may want to think your automation approach to targeting entities. I have automations that use Tasmodo, ZWave, and ZigBee OS, and the same automation of the issues. What was the manufacturer's? It's a singlet smart light switch. I'm trying to set up automations. Yeah, so that may even be an issue with the switch itself. I don't know. But again, if you can eliminate that as a failure point, just go directly to a ZWave dongle or whatever. Like No Thanks said. And No Thanks, so we're talking about the password deal. A lot of people are complaining because MQTT is a pretty commonly used password for MQTT, and Pwn keeps reporting it. You can't change the password, or the password for can't you set up whatever password you want on this one? And not quite true, not much difference than using your HAB. Yeah, and that's what I don't have experience with, Mr. Jazz. I don't know. I don't have it. It just seems to me like you have to go talk to it, and then there's potential for delay or whatever. But if that's not what you're experiencing, then I'm wrong, which I'm happy to say I am. And that's what I was going to say here. Is ST always cloud, or is there a local API that you'll call with your ST stuff? Because if you're going to cloud, to me that would just bother me, just because of the potential for failure if the internet goes down or whatever. I do have things that rely on the cloud services on my Home Assistant instance. None of my ZWave stuff does, obviously. I'm looking at my dashboard to kind of see what we have here. My water meter from Flume requires an API call to a cloud service. Well, I guess that's it. Most of the problem I have with the cloud services are the smart boxes that don't always play nicely, or I have to re-authenticate the Amazon version of my smart box all the time for some reason. Paul says, I finally powered off my ST Hub this week after years of using it. ST just has a cloud requirement, but they are moving away from cloud integration. Does everything that ST talks to have to go through cloud? And then, we've got two things going here. We're talking about password and ZWave, but No Thanks says you can change the password, but it's not a notification you cannot remove if you choose a common password for a locally run system. Yeah, that's true. I went ahead and just used my Bitwarden and generated one for my Samba share or Samba, if that's the way you say it, and my SSH server. I just created one. Then I got rid of those errors. Those are the only two that were reporting. And the one I was getting the most, those two that I was getting reported on, it was the same password for both those services. And it's one that I've had around for a gazillion years that I just know that I just put on things as a temporary stopgap. And yeah, it's probably been picked off a few times. None of my personal services that are out in the world have that password anymore. Every site has its own password. I use Bitwarden to keep up with all that. watch my Bitwarden video, if you don't mind. So I have a little video on the Bitwarden stuff. I run Bitwarden locally on my HA box. So it's all mine internally. Zappy's late. Everything in ST goes through the cloud. Yeah. So I had a Vera device before I went to Home Assistant. And I'll say that the UI design was it was not nice. It was, in fact, pretty dang awful. But it was the early days, so I'm sure I've come a long way since then. But it drove me to HA, and I never looked back. But I think, I get where we have these services and these devices that are out there that run like that. Everything in ST goes through cloud. You cannot do it, but if I log on to ST Cloud IDE, it will show devices or local cloud. Most are not local. Interesting. So I know SmartThings is owned by Samsung. They just push it. Well, let me ask a different way. What is it just because of legacy stuff where you had a SmartThings device and you're using Home Assistant, or was there something that drove you all to Home Assistant, or drove you all to SmartThings in addition to using it with Home Assistant? I'm guessing it's the first, the former, where you already had SmartThings and start using a Home Assistant as well. But I'm curious how that'll play out. Okay, so we talked through this business. One of the things I will always talk about here, well, here's new integrations. If you have any of these things, and the My Home Assistant we talked about, that's a new integration. Litter Robot, that's interesting. Oh, hey, check this out. I like keeping up with the pilot stuff, the pilot world, so this is interesting. So now you have an FAA delays integration. So you add it. Oh, hey, let's add this to. I just want to see what it is. Yep, I sure do. Could not be loaded. Okay. I didn't add it. Is it here? No, it's not. Well, I'm going to try it anyway. I want to see what it is. FAA delays. I'm going to put in my airport locally. I guess we'll try a closer one or farther away one. Maybe I don't need the K because it's FAA. Here we go. That was a total guess. That's how I set things up. I just guess. I just keep typing stuff until I guess. So now I have arrival delay, closures, departure delay, ground delay, and ground stop. This would be interesting. Ground stop would, I could look out the window and see if it's foggy or not. Or I could just look at my Home Assistant and see if we're in a ground stop. And what does it tell me? Off. So it's on or off for this. On or off. It doesn't tell me the value. Like maybe it does. Oh, it does. Average and reason. Oh, that's cool. Well, that'll be something to play with. I might play with that. So that's another one that's a new integration. That's pretty awesome. I don't know what this is. Open data. I always am a data guy. Oh, meteorological information. This is for out of the US, it looks like. I'm not sure where this is necessarily, unless it's just another service you can get from anywhere in the world. I'm getting too many tabs. So there's that. New platforms, Aurora, KNX for the fans. Templates can now be used to create weather entities. WeLight covers now, supports covers. And then we have the following new integrations that are from the UI being pulled in from the YAML, I guess. What is LightJet? Centralized lighting system. Oh, that was awesome. Let me go back to the bottom again. Okay. Remember to read your breaking changes. Always read the breaking changes. There's a bunch of stuff here. So custom integrations, a version warning. If you build these, you've got to have the version now in your manifest. Fans, we talked about fans. It will break the fans, I guess, if you're running this now. They said it was backwards compatible, so I don't know why it would change, what would break. But you can read through all these breaking changes. I'm just looking for anything that's like really notable. So the HTTP base URL setting was marked as deprecated in 110. It's now going to remove the fallback logic to the old base URL. If you have a base URL configured, you need to remove it. So you had HTTP and you had base URL and then some other stuff. You can remove the base URL section now. It's set in a different spot. There's just a lot of stuff. You can just read through all this stuff. ZWave.js breaking changes. You now have to have server 1.1.0 for release 2021.3. So make sure you're running that before you upgrade the core, or you might have problems. If you're on this call and you haven't upgraded, check that. If you already upgraded and you broke it, yeah, there you go. And Hue has a breaking change. That's a big one. Hue groups are disabled. And then Nest, if you have the Nest integration, it sets the device timer to use the max duration of 12 hours rather than the default of 15 minutes. So if you turn the fan on, it's going to run for 12 hours. I don't understand what this is for. I guess I need to ask Alan. If you'd like the fan to turn off sooner, you need to use an automation with timer to set the fan off. I don't understand what that's for. Let me just see what the issue was on this. Make the Nest thermostat fan on mode have a more reasonable duration of 12 hours, increase from the default 15 minutes, making it act more like a switch. The climate entity currently does not pass the duration to the API, causing it to shut off after the default 15 minutes. Okay. I can kind of see that. I don't run my fan for 12 hours, but I suppose that it depends on the climate you live in and a lot of other factors, whether you turn that fan on. I do have a thing that runs my fan from the Nest thermostat itself every 15 minutes from X time to X time, so that it circulates the air through all the upstairs bedrooms at nighttime. That's basically all I do. So that's interesting. So if you used to run your fan for 15 minutes and now it's on all day long, this is the reason why. Okay, CoinMarketCap goes. Crime Reports has gone. Numo and Synology has been removed, but it's been replaced by Synology DSM. So it's still there, but it's just a different name. So those are things we have for the 2023 release. We talked a lot about ZWave as well. I'm just looking through here. Pulled all my stuff. Okay, 8 months ago, once I moved to 8, all my stuff got faster. Samsung direction. They really changed direction from when ST was a Kickstarter. Yeah, that's the thing when people get purchased by big companies. I'm considering running Bitwarden local on my Blue. Just concerns about problems if I can't access my Blue if the internet goes down. So no thanks. Here's what it does. It caches on your local instance. Now here are the concerns that you have for that, or you would have potentially for that. If the internet goes down, yeah, I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that, because if I'm logged in, it caches the information. What you're not going to get is a sync from your device. What I experienced initially was when I got into my work VPN, I could no longer access my Bitwarden because we have port blocks on the network. So what I am able to do using Nginx reverse proxy is use port 443 for any of the stuff that I want to access internally to my network. And then from the reverse proxy, I send that over to my Bitwarden instance. So I also run AdGuard. So in my Home Assistant, I have AdGuard running, and I'm using a client redirection or DNS rewrite. So for BW, so if I go to BW on my stuff in the house, it goes to the local IP address of my Bitwarden. It redirects me internally. And then from external, my Nginx reverse proxy picks it up and sends it to my Bitwarden. If the internet goes down, if I'm already logged in with my browser, then it's already cached. And they have actually made some changes, and I can't really show it on here because it might show my passwords. But it used to log you out of Bitwarden on browser closing, or you could set some other feature or other settings to log you out at certain points. The thing is now is you can leave it open. You can have it stay logged in forever on a device if you want to. That's a security risk you have to consider. If your device gets hacked or whatever, I haven't played with blocking or disabling access to certain things. But if you if you click on that, if you're stayed logged in is what I'm trying to get to, and you go somewhere and the internet goes down and you can't reach your Bitwarden, if you're still logged in, you should have access to your passwords that are cached on the browser that you're currently still logged into, if you keep your browser open or you tell it to stay logged in all the time. The other thing that was a very big annoyance to me was that if it locked my Bitwarden account in the add-on, I couldn't just log back in. I had to log completely out and then re-log back in because there was a bug of some sort within Bitwarden. That has now been corrected so that when you get logged out of your, or timed out or whatever, it's not logged out, it's called, it's locked. If it gets locked, your extension gets locked, you can now log back in without having to completely log out again. So that was a huge thing that was just an annoyance that's been fixed. That was a long answer to say, I don't know what, I mean, you can get around it if the internet goes down. If you're talking about multi-day internet outages or something like that, that happens all the time, I would consider not maybe doing this, but we've got pretty reliable internet here, and I can get to my passwords pretty much most of the time. I do back up my whole blue and a snapshot to my internal NAS. That's the other consideration. If you lose your configuration or do something crazy with Bitwarden and you can't get back to it, like there's a key you can use to get into it. If you can't get to that and you lock yourself out or can't decrypt your stuff, you have a backup, you can restore it. And I've done that. When I went from my tower computer to my NAS, to my blue, everything just came over as an add-on, part of the add-on. It was fine. So make sure you back that stuff up and put a copy somewhere where it's not going to be compromised. I just keep it on my local NAS inside my network, and hopefully that's not going to get hacked. Why do I say stuff like that? Knock on fake wood here. Anyway, I'm not worried about it. I was paying $100-something a month yearly for another service, and I'm just paying my own stuff now. Plus, I keep it local. Mr. Jazz says, before I looked into HA, I selected certain smart things because of support for ZWave and Zigbee. Did not like HA interface and features. Yeah, I guarantee Home Assistant has come a long way, quite a long way. I'm very pleased with it. Look at my dashboard. It's pretty amazing, if I do say so myself. These nothing on ZWave that I need, so I was happy to ditch ZWave entirely, moving away from Z. Yeah, I don't know what I would replace on my switches with now. I have a capital investment in my switches, in my ZWave infrastructure, so I'm good with that. I'm happy with it. It works fine, aside from the continuous upgrades I've been making to things like the ZWave server. I'm confident, very confident, ZWave JS is going to pretty much fix most issues that we currently have based on the development effort going on in that now. So I'm not worried about that either. If I end up moving to a new house, I'm going to probably investigate some other options as well and see what we can do in that regard. I know that there's some ESP stuff that I can put places that might run. What's the switch stuff that people have been telling me about that goes in the light switches? It's Tasmota based, I think, or something, but maybe something like that that's more Wi-Fi based. That if it doesn't require cloud access is something I might look into. So, but for now, I'm gonna do that. I'd love to have a ST chat with whomever would like to on your Discord. Set a time to. Yeah, I'll let you all figure that out. Let you all set that up. If internet go down and you log off, you are off. Well, it depends, Zappy. If you're already logged in and your stuff is cached, then you'll be fine. Let's see. Depending on how much stuff you have configured, moving out of ST can be a huge effort. I'm still missing alarm panel configs. I can't blame anyone for not wanting to move. What kind of alarm stuff do you run, Bob? While you're answering that, I guess I can say that I run a DSC panel, and on that DSC panel, I run an Izon board, Invisalink. I don't even know what model I'm running. But it has you can even see it has a plugin for it. I don't remember which one is. Maybe the EVL4. That seems old. Anyway, it's a IP based board that plugs into my DSC alarm panel that I built out myself, and that I run scripts to do all the things. I can show you one of my scripts, I think. I don't use the control panel. Someone actually asked me that on Discord. I don't use the control panel. I use the give me a second here and I'll show you my scripts. I just call scripts. So when let's say I set the alarm away, it runs through all these items. This can probably be done with scenes now. I haven't tried with scenes, but I set the alarm control panel to arm away. I set the I run a shell command that sets my BI through a webhook, I guess, to away mode so that my blue iris starts. It's in an away profile, so I get a different types of alerts and stuff based on the profile. Turn off all the inside lights. I lock all the locks. I close the. Yeah, see, this isn't going to work. That's new. That needs to be updated. So I close the garage door if it's open. I turn my Nest to eco mode. I need to make sure that's still valid. And then I set this thing. I'm part of the guard trial, although it's now out of beta. I think they're charging people for it. But it listens for sounds in the house through the smart speakers, and if it detects a sound that sounds like it's a problem, it'll send me an alert on my phone. So that's one of the things I set for away. At nighttime, it's similar, right? I set it to the home mode or stay mode, I guess some of them are called. I set the blue iris to night mode. I turn off inside lights, outside backlights. I lock the doors, close the garage door if it's open. And then I put my, I don't know what we're doing with that. For some reason, I'm setting Nest to home. I guess I've been caught before where I did something and the Nest was in a certain mode, like eco mode, and I didn't know it. And so I forced it to home mode or whatever. This may not be valid anymore. I need to check that because I'm using the integration now, so it may be different. But down here you can see some of these things. I think. Well, anyway, some of the scripts like this service script Nest Eco is let me get this out of the way. It just sets a climate set preset mode and puts it in eco mode. I think that's probably wrong now because of the setup or the new integration that I have. Anyway, so I don't use the alarm control panel. And someone had asked me that on Discord, so I don't want to show that. I just use scripts, and those scripts are sitting up here. So home mode, night mode, stay mode, away mode, and then this sets it away, and this sets it away without setting the eco mode. So if we're only going to be gone for a couple hours, I don't want to set the eco mode. I'll just set the alarm to away mode, and to me, I know what this means. It basically says don't touch the HVAC stuff. So I do that. How are you integrating the AOTech HEM with HA when it doesn't have an integration? It's ZWave. So this right here, this right here is all based on ZWave. And that is, let me shut a few thousand of these things here. Actually, that's what I want. So that is the smart relay. Where is it at? Let me find it here. Power. That's going to be one of the early ones. Counter, deck lights, playroom settings, blah, blah, blah. All right, so home energy meter. So my Aeon Labs home energy meter, it gives me kilowatt hours, previous value, I guess stores it, electric consumed kilowatt, time delta, so every 2 minutes. Electric consumed in watts, the amps, and all this other stuff. So this is all reported to me by ZWave. So the integration is not, I'm not integrated with it. I just view it directly from ZWave. I have ZWave, Zigbee, and Unify motion sensors everywhere. I have a connected wire to many of the doors and windows. Oh, I want one of those connected. And if you haven't seen that, this is what we're talking about. My brother has one now. I think he's got it hooked up and running now. It is it's a drop-in replacement for your wired alarm system. And let me see if I can see what we have. Shop new products. So for $99, you can get a 6-zone kit, and that 6-zone kit has. And look at this board. This is the whole thing. You plug in your wires from your zones, and I think that's it, right? And then you configure it. Obviously, it's got an ESP board on it. Yeah, what is that? I can't see it. Anyway, it has a board on it, Wi-Fi board. Looks like a little ESP board, and then it just talks over Wi-Fi, with built-in switched output for direct connection and control of a siren or strobe. So you can plug in your sirens and your strobes and stuff with this as well. So there's the 6-zone kit, and they have other zones. The eyes-on board I have is probably, it's much bigger than all the rest of these things. And I could take that entire alarm panel out, that huge box that sits on the wall in the closet, and replace it with a little, I think I have 8 zones maybe total. So I get a couple of these 6-zone kits, or get something that's got a few more zones. Like here's a 12-zone kit, but this has some other stuff on it as well. What else do we have here? Anyway, it's connected. I think that's pretty awesome. I want to get one of those at some point and replace it. If my alarm panel dies or something like that, or Eyes On does something, then it goes away. And then they do monitoring with certain services. If you're into professional monitoring, I think you can get that with that as well. I want to get connected also. We'll cover my windows and doors. Yeah, all my windows and doors are wired. What isn't wired are my motion sensors that connect to my wireless. So I have a keypad that has, for my DSC alarm panel, that has a Wi-Fi or wireless module in it, and the 2 motion sensors that are wireless are connected to my wired key panel. That was hard to say. So I'm gonna have to. I'll probably replace those with just a regular either Wi-Fi or Z-Wave or something motion sensor that would tie into it somehow. The thing is, I don't know how connected. If you get professional monitoring, how you get some of these other services like your wireless motion sensors that aren't part of connected necessarily, to alert if something were to occur. I'd have to figure out that whole system. Let's see, the 2 presets now in the Nest integration are Eco and none. All right, so I have to I do have it set to Eco, and it does something weird here it shows the range of temperature, and it goes to. I'll just do this. I don't care. Let's do climate. We'll go to services, and we'll do developer tools. We're going to do services. We'll do climate set mode, and we'll just set the Nest to Eco. The thing is, I think if you set one, climate set mode. I guess it's preset mode. Preset new value preset. That's preset mode. I just read this. What was it? Climate set mode. What on Nest? Let me read this here. Our Eco, and I got all those now after the support provided by the ST driver module. Connected, yes, Wi-Fi. I have the connected Pro. It can power motion sensors or sirens. Yeah, you got wires though where those things are. Why would you want home monitored by a third party? You can serve the role, create an automation to call the law. The only reason that I say have it monitor, I get all the alerts. I get everything. In fact, I get an alert from my alarm system before the alarm company calls me. So if the alarm goes off, my phone through pushover makes a ridiculous noise. And I know they're going to call me. So I'm just ready. I'm waiting for the phone. So I'm holding it here, just waiting for it to ring. And then I'll answer it. in the meantime, I'm probably checking the cameras and seeing what else is going on. Third-party monitoring is if I'm out somewhere where I don't have cell service or whatever, or my thing didn't alert, I want somebody else to be able to deal with that. That's the only reason I would have a professional monitoring. And the amount of times I've used it, knock on wood, 0, may not make it worth it to pay for it. So I don't know. I would probably reevaluate that. Plus, we have to pay a yearly alarm monitoring fee. So if the alarm company calls law enforcement in your jurisdiction and you don't have you haven't paid the yearly monitor or the alarm permit fee, which in my case is $40 a year, you potentially get a fine or whatever for them having to respond to it. So I don't know. I don't know if I've paid that recently. I may have defaulted on that anyway. But it does give you an extra sense of security if you're in an area where your alert doesn't go off, and the alarm company or alarm monitoring service you pay for will call whoever they need to call. Connected just adds the devices to HA like anything else. The switches are just triggering relays. That I get. It's the professional monitoring part. Like, so let's say you take a multi-sensor 6 and you have motion sensing when your alarm is set. You can create automations to tell you things are happening based on the setting of the alarm panel or the connected panel, right? But how do you translate a multi-sensor 6 thing into, I'm probably answering my own question by talking through it. I suppose you could tell the connected module that something else alerted that's not actually physically connected to the connected module, and then send that alert out to the alarm monitoring company saying, look, wait, what? What? So Baloob is moving off he's going to be working for Samsung? Well, that's news. I want to set this. The problem is I don't know how to set the preset mode. I don't know what the syntax is. Plus I can't. Oh, here we go. Target, pick a. Let's do downstairs. And let's preset mode. Eco. Call service. Now what happens to my dashboard here? Did it change it? Oh, it did. So now it's off, eco mode. My temperature range is set to 78. What it used to do, which is interesting, is it used to set, if you have a home and you set your mode on one device, it's supposed to it used to automatically set it for the other device. So it didn't set this one to eco mode. So now does that mean I need to call them both? So let me set this back to, you said eco mode or off? Wait, what did you say it was? Let me look at the chat here. It is either eco and none. All right, none. Oh, because it's called a preset mode. That's why. So now it's set to, this is what I noticed before. It didn't actually, I have had issues where it didn't actually do anything when I called it. It didn't reset it back. Oh, it did. So now if I take this, hopefully I don't, if I don't exceed my API limit on this stuff. If I set it to eco with both of these, what does it do? Yeah, look at that. So now both of my thermostats are in eco. I mean, SmartThings is almost like a competitor to Home Assistant, right? Or are they? I don't know. They're more than just a hub. They want to do more things than just doing the hub stuff. We're at an hour and 57 minutes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about ZWave, which I did. We talked a little bit about a lot of little things, which is really the point of my live streams. I said a couple topics, but I talk about whatever comes to mind or whatever questions come up. So what other questions or comments do y'all have before we jump off the live stream today, if any at all? And I'm just looking over at my Discord here. Looks like Veteran Chaos. It's hard for me to, you can have a different name on Discord than you can have on every social media platform can be a different name. Sometimes it's really hard for me to know who everybody is. So I don't know if Veteran Chaos is someone who was on the live stream here and jumped over or not. I have no idea. So let me just go here and see if there's anything else I want to talk about today. Do y'all have any other questions about ZWave? I mean, I'm not the expert at all, but I do think that this is gaining so much traction and stuff that I'm really pleased about what's going on. And so I'm trying to help push the message out a little bit. Hammer Cam Con. Some of us make it easy, I hope. Where'd that come in at? Oops. What was that all about? General live stream chat. I'm just reading through some chats here. Anyway, I'm trying to push this message a little bit. I hope what I'm talking about is helpful. If you haven't seen my channel before today, I have a bajillion videos, like maybe 60 of them. And I cover all kinds of stuff. You can find me under Mostlychris. Well, obviously, if you're watching my YouTube stream, you can find my channel, I hope. Look, I'm live right now. But I try to cover a lot of different things, and I'm always looking for suggestions for videos, content. Some of them are less stellar than others. I'm proud of some I'm not as proud of, but I hope they're still helpful. So log stuff, DuckDNS was a recent one. Of course, the ZWave stuff. And I've got playlists that I try to put stuff into. So we have what is that? We have remote access, back to the basics. So if you're new to Home Assistant, here's one you can watch. I've got a couple of 4 videos there. ZWave stuff, NFC stuff, voice control, TTS, Node-RED, Nest API, Bitwarden, and Grafana. Kind of categories that I put the stuff into. And I've got about 60 some odd videos, I think, up that you can read and watch all about. I did one video on flying my flight simulator, and that was it. This channel used to be, when I first started, I talked about aviation a little bit, but I still love it. I fly the flight simulator. You may catch me every once in a while. I have a channel on Discord called Streaming Game Stuff. I don't know if it actually works very well, but I just stream random stuff up there that I'm playing around with. So there's that. With the new chips coming, it's not likely I'll be making any major changes with ZWave or Zigbee. Oh, Bob's ZD-ROM. So I talked about you, Bob. I think you probably heard me talk about you. We were talking about, what were we talking about? Something you had just mentioned. Oh, the cover. Yeah, the cover stuff. So you got the cover stuff working because you had the encryption stuff going. So I'm glad that's working for you. It's been working okay for me as well ever since they did that. Or ever since they launched the cover stuff, it's been working fine for me. In fact, I don't have to pull. I used to pull that one as well as the door locks, and I don't have to do that anymore. With the new chips coming, it's not likely I'll be making. Okay, chip is going to be interesting, but ZWave JS is working really, really well. Chips. Here's what I think about stuff like that. Yeah, you got 5 or 6 big players on board, and I don't know how many years it's going to be before they come up with a viable product that is going to be mainstream enough. First of all, you have to come up with the standard. Then you got to get people to build the stuff for it. Then you got to get enough market momentum and products out there on the market to make it a viable service. Then you got to have people break it and figure out how bad or good it is before other people are going to buy it. You know, it's that whole long process. And so I'm not looking for stuff to happen right away. What I'm still curious about is why ZWave isn't part of the chip stuff. I just really don't understand why they're not being invited. But that's what I said earlier in the video, in the stream today, is maybe with all this push with the way things are going here, there's enough of a, momentum for ZWave to kind of get added. So we have, and if you know what chip is, we're talking about Project Connected Home over IP. We have people, a working group with IKEA, Legrand, NXP, I don't know, the Samsung Smart Things is one of the chip people. Schneider Electric, Philips, Silicon Labs, all these people. And I don't know if it talks about what things are in here. It's supposed to be open source. Okay. Why and all these others. It talks about all this other stuff. And I don't know. Here we go. It will release Wi-Fi up to including 802.11ax. So that's going to be Wi-Fi 6. The first spec is going to be Wi-Fi at 2.4 gigahertz. BLE, Bluetooth Low Energy will be in there. Yeah, I don't see anything about Z-Wave in here, or Zigbee actually. I thought Zigbee was part of this. The Zigbee Alliance develops and manages several technologies, including Zigbee and Project Connected. The project uses IP rather than Zigbee transport. So Zigbee isn't going to be Zigbee, it's going to be Wi-Fi. I don't think there's anything about Z-Wave in here. Z-Wave, Z-Wave. Yeah, there's no Z-Wave in it. Zigbee Alliance is not, it's not because Zigbee is going to be part of it. It's just because Zigbee makes things that are part of it. All right. Well, that was, that's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. Yeah, Zigbee Alliance, but they're not going to have any Zigbee products. It doesn't seem like in that. So I think with a 2 hour and 4 minute, that was a good stream. I hope it was halfway helpful and mildly entertaining. We are entertainers, right? I try to be I wouldn't call myself an entertainer, but I try to at least provide a little bit of humor here and there. And with that, I think we're going to wrap the stream for today. I appreciate you all watching, and if you're not a subscriber, hit that button, do that thing. That would be fantastic. And, it's all about algorithms. Helps the channel and grow, and you've heard it enough times. I don't need to say it again. Y'all have a good evening on your Monday, or a good night, as it were, depending on where you're at. Thanks for sticking around, and we will see you on the next thing. Discord for any follow-up questions, and what else? If you have any questions that you want me to make videos, or things you want me to make videos on, throw that in there as well. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks again, everyone.